everyone. How are you? Thank you for your patience. We started a little bit late. Hopefully we'll make it worth your while. My name is HaRav I'm supposed to be your MC tonight. And hopefully it will be a memorable experience. We want to welcome you with open arms to the fascinating world of Taatzumot. What is this amazing center of chinuch, developing skills, therapy for children? What's it all about? Just a glimpse. As always, in the world of Jewish shmuzin, Yiddish shmuzin, what do we do? We tell you a little ma'aseh. There was once a king who had everything, and yet he had nothing, because he was childless. Him and his wife had no children. And after hundreds of tefillahs and thousands of tears and 20 years of waiting, there was Ze'ev to a child. The child was a ben yachid. The child was someone who came after so much, so many tefillahs, so many tears. His name was Swilly. Swilly was a great boy. At 5 years old, a shabbat, like anyone. He likes to run around. He wandered in the forest on his own, and he got lost. Didn't come home. They sent out search teams day after day after day, and they came back empty-handed. Swilly was lost forever. And the king and queen had such tsar. After 20 years of waiting, he finally zeichet to the ben yachid, and now they lost him. There was one Eved, very loyal, and he continued searching. And after another few weeks, he finally found some shack in a hidden part of the forest. He opened it up, and he found Swilly on the floor, unconscious, but still alive. He somehow survived eating grass, eating puddles of rainwater, dirty water. He was still alive, weak but alive. He brought him home. He told his parents, "I found your boy. He's alive. He'll rest up, he'll be well." What kind of simcha can that be? What kind of ava? What kind of joy? There could be no greater moment for the king and queen, for the couple that waited 20 years for their ben yachid and lost them, but then found them. B'siyata d'shmaya. What a story. That story, I think, serves us as the focus of Taatzumot. 500 children weekly get therapy, whether it be in music or play, or whether it be in speech therapy or occupational therapy. They take in the children with never-ending patience, work with the children, work with the parents, sometimes that's even harder, and they raise the children from wherever they were to be true, successful, beautiful, flourishing, blossoming, b'nei Torah, b'nei Yisrael. How do you do it? How do you not falter? How do you not lose patience? How do you not give up? Would you give up on a ben yachid? Would you give up if it was 20 years before you had your kid? And then finally you had one. Everyone's a ben yachid. Everyone's a ben yachid by your B'nai Shalom. His ava is even greater than all of our ava. We're all b'nei yachid, b'nei yechidim, by the Arousing, all the Yiddish kinderlich. It behooves us to take care of them, to do whatever we can. The story that I just heard in the last few days, I'm doing my research about Taatzumot, the power to give the child, to develop him, to be his own person, is the otzma of Taatzumot. I heard one ma'aseh just now. Mamish, mois mensch. What a story, what a story. A boy with social skills that lacked greatly. The kids saw it in school, they made fun of him. They used to hit him, bother him, chep him, until the kid stopped speaking. He started stuttering, stopped speaking totally, lost his self-confidence, lost his success in studies. He was a smart boy. He lost it all, going downhill fast. The parents didn't know what to do. The mother came to school one day, even saw him. He puts his hands up like this because the other kids are watching him. Until Taatzumot got involved, raised the child's self-esteem, took and gave him therapy, gave him time, attention, love, as a ben yachid. He brought to happen to be a ben yachid there also, his family. He's tremendous. Now he's a successful person. What a beautiful story. We want to ask you, please, a few favors before we start. Number one, please, no recording this lecture. The lecture is tonight. If you want, you can get a disc afterwards. They'll give it to you, I think, for free. But they want to do it professionally, so please, not in a private way, recording. Number two, if you can please sign your name outside when you leave, just to give them a connection, much more for you than for them. But it's good to have a feedback, it's good to have names. If you don't want to give your last name, just give a first name, give a phone number, something. Any comments, we welcome it. There will be people at the end, at the doors, from the ladies' side, Miriam Dunner and Sivya, I guess, Shmulevitz, and Tommy Katzenberg, and Henny Michelle, Ched B'Chalab, who, by the way, organized this whole thing. And you can give them your feedback or questions that you'll have. We ask also no questions, and tonight there's enough to do tonight, even without the questions. If you can, please, Avraham Z on the men's side. Don't ask me why there's only one man for the men and 6 for the ladies, which is amazing. But I don't know. I'm just an MC, what do I know? But those are important points. Okay. I mentioned it. Besides tonight's theme, which is very important, it's important to mention, again, that Taatzumot does a lot of different therapies, and a lot of hadracha, and a lot of chinuch, and it could be a phone call. Please, we ask you, we beg you, if you see anything strange, anything different from your child, both in the matters that we're going to talk about tonight, in Yanim Tznius, or in Yanim of other things, he's losing his simcha, he's losing his bitachon atzmi, he doesn't want to play, he doesn't have a chevra. These are all simonim. The earlier you catch it, the Bez Hashem, the more tzlacha we can have in dealing with it. But please make that phone call. If nothing else, just to make sure everything's okay. Sometimes a kid can have a bad day, that's fine. But what does it bother you to make a phone call? You don't have to say your name, but just give a phone call and make sure. People are working in the field for 20 years. They'll know a little bit better than us. Right? So let's try. Then parents, let's try. Let's make that phone call, please. You have on your table, on your bench, besides a water bottle, you have a card of the hotline of Taatzumot. Please take it home, hang it on your fridge, and it should be mul eineinu, opposite your eyes all the time. Give a phone call whenever you have a question. It can do so much for our children. I want to say one final point before we begin our speaker, and that is, if it's the Rebbeinu Shalom's ben yachid, what about the parent? The parent has a double, because not only everyone is the Rebbeinu Shalom's ben yachid, but when your own children, they're also your ben yachid. You know, I just heard Aunt Betsy, by the way, you didn't get the phone call yet, but I heard Aunt Betsy just died. It's your aunt. She left you $5 million. That was good. Right on time. And I understand that the $5 million is yours to take. And I heard you just took it and left it alone in the park near your house. How silly would that be? Is it any different than when you leave your child in the park who's 6 years old or 8 or 10 unattended? He or she is not worth $5 million times a million. How could you leave your kids alone? How could you send them to Makovet alone? It's a possession. It's priceless. How could you leave it alone? It's certainly worth much more than Aunt Betsy's $5 million. Okay. With that, tonight's theme is protective parenting of young children and adolescents. Be'ez Hashem, this is the first step for us all, and hopefully you'll spread it to your friends and your neighbors, of the importance of this. A lot of people are not aware. A lot of people are naive. And in today's world, that's dangerous. So hopefully after tonight, you can give that over to your chaverim and your mishpachas to be more aware. But to be aware of what and how. That's the trick tonight. That's the hard part. That I'm not doing. I have professionals, rabbanim, experienced in the fields for that. Okay. Introducing our first speaker. On Torah perspective, on family, safety, and balance. We'll find out what the balance is. I think it's a little bit between not being, the words, 4 N's, never neglected. Never neglect your child, but also never neurotic. That's my humble opinion, and I'm sure we'll hear much more. Rabbi Sai, Tnu Kabbalah Torah, please stand for a true Adam Gadol Yisrael, a Baki Balacha, a Pikeach Binyani Chinuch, HaRav Yitzchok Berkowitz Shlita.
Praise to the Kiddush here at Russia. I'm trying to tell you what the Rebbe Shalom gave. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. Yeah, it should go to one. Don't take this matana thing a little too far. Children are not a matana, they're a pikodim. I always say when beginning the parsha of Chinuch, Aderech Molitza, Chazal tell us by the parsha of Hakel, Anoshim, Noshim, B'taf are supposed to come. Chazal say, yeah, the Anoshim, Noshim, to learn. And what's with the Taf? Why do they come? Litin Schar L'Nevi'eim. And it seems like this is really the Tachlis. In the way Hashem created life, parents raise children. Every one of us is put into this world to become sholem, to live up to his responsibility, to develop all of the potential of the Rebbeinu Shalom put inside us. One of the most important situations in life where we're tested and given the ability to become great is in bringing up our children. It is the greatest responsibility we've got, the responsibility for lives. Children, when they're young especially, are totally dependent on us. The Rebbeinu Shalom gives us full responsibility for our children, and this cannot be taken lightly. It's nice to enjoy them. They're so sweet. But that's not all they're there for. On the contrary, the Rebbeinu Shalom does that to make it a little easier to live up to our responsibilities. But Be'ikr, it's an achrayus. It's responsibility. Our responsibilities for their physical well-being, their emotional well-being. It seems that in Yerushalayim in general, and perhaps even especially with the chutznik crowd in Eretz Yisrael in Yerushalayim, we feel like here we are, away from the goyim of Eretz Amim. We're among our own. We're in a Gan Eden of sorts. It's free. It's great. You let your kids out. You don't feel the anti-Semitism and the fears of Chutz La'aretz. Men walk to shul in their talis and their talis and tefillin every morning. Feel free. We're not right with our children too. It's unfortunate. But the streets of Yerushalayim are not safe for children. There are all sorts of strangers wandering around. People who are sick in the head, people who never have problems. Sometimes they speak to kids, sometimes they do things to children, and this affects children permanently. A child that's been affected unless he really gets help, that child has problems for every step, every stage in life as he grows up, every new situation. One has no idea how much damage is done to a child by even a one-off crazy person coming and touching him in the wrong way. And there are plenty such people around. It was mentioned you don't leave your kids alone in the park. It seems like the norm is to send a 3-year-old here to the makolet for shokol achmaniya. Every makolet man will give edus on that. You walk outside midday when little kids are coming home from Gan. So some are taken home by their parents, others walking themselves. Gan children. Yeah, but they're not alone. It's a group of kids. 3-year-olds. Who's protecting them? What are they going to be able to stand up to? Shabbos mornings. Shabbos mornings. The men are in shul. The women need some rest. So the kids are sent out. Sometimes they're sent to go to shul, but later, the streets are deserted. The streets are deserted. But Davanenu, that's a time they have discovered to be perfect. If they would meet up with little kids, no one will see, no one will know. Shabbos afternoon, parents are resting, kids are out playing. But lots of kids, no adults. And even when there are adults, which is also not simple. I remember we had an incident in our neighborhood. Someone wandered into the neighborhood, started up with a couple of kids in the park. There were a bunch of mothers there, but they were talking to each other. They weren't watching the kids. A bunch of mothers there. They didn't see a thing. They're busy talking to each other. Kids are heifer. Kids here are heifer. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I heard from money changing. A 5-year-old came in with an envelope with $25,000 to change. And it's beautiful. People trust their kids. So you want to trust them with your money, okay. But not with themselves. Not with themselves. This is an achrayus. This is called pshia. We can't be mafker our children. Lately, there are all sorts of stories circulating. You hear about the stories sound surreal, bizarre. Honestly, in terms of the degree to which these stories have gone, the proportions spoken about, I mean, Hashem Yerachem, I certainly hope they're nowhere near true. But there are definitely things going on in Yerushalayim. We've had, in just about every neighborhood, kids from almost every cheder, English speakers, Yiddish speakers, of course, kids that speak Ivrit, speaking up, telling of terrible things that happened to them. They're kids, many of them are 3.5. How much of what they're saying is true, how much not, it's very hard to know. In the beginning, we made it as a rule that any time a kid says something he could not possibly have imagined on his own. A kid growing up in a fine fruma home, with only fine fruma friends, starts describing something that he could not have known if he didn't experience it. We said that that's something to be taken very seriously. The problem is that now word is out. And kids are talking, parents are talking, and kids hear parents talking. No longer can we say, had he not experienced it, he wouldn't have known. Because kids are saying, they're talking to one another. The stories are out. It's hard to know what's true and what isn't. Only a professional can know. Parents cannot figure it out. So first of all, you got to make sure that your kids are safe, that you bring them to cheder, you bring them to school, whether yourself, whether another parent. It doesn't have to be that every child has an adult accompanying them. You can have a group of children taken to school with an adult. That's fine. But not hefker, not a couple of kids. No, we had a psychologist speak in our neighborhood, and she told the mothers that if you're having an older child taking a younger child or younger children, unless that older child is capable of rescuing the younger ones from a fire, we're talking about maturity and physical strength, unless the older one is strong enough to rescue the younger ones from a fire, that child cannot be trusted to take them to school. Not because you're afraid of a fire in the way. In most cases, things that either definitely happened or things that allegedly happened, it's a rarity that we hear of a story of a kid being taken by force. It's a rarity. And by the way, this is common all over the world. In most cases, if there is a perpetrator, it is someone the child has gotten to know. How does the child get to know that? How does the child get to know a perpetrator? It's a very simple thing. All you got to do is give a boy a toffee or his sister a sticker. Day after day, you're their best friend. And then they'll go wherever you want them to go. Little kids do that. They go willfully. Children have to be taught not to. Children have to be trained. You don't take things from people you don't know. You don't ask a stranger to cross you over the street. Even if it's someone who looks like one of ours. If there's no one around, at least only ask a woman, not a man. At least that. Our children are Baruch Hashem v'nebuch, so optimistic and innocent. It's so sad because we don't want to ruin that tmimus. But what can we do? People out on the street are forcing us to. We've even gone as far as saying that you have to tell your children that if an adult asks for help, your children should say, I have to go and ask my parents. I know this sounds terrible, but if you've got an older person schlepping a package who says, could you please help carry this up to my apartment? We have to train our children not to go. This is outrageous, it's terrible. But what can you do? What can you do? Our children's safety comes first. This is your responsibility to them. And you have to tell them, we're big on chasodim. But you never know, there are all kinds of people out there. We have to teach our children to take care of themselves. And when they're very young, we have to take care of them. Children should not be going alone to gan, school, cheder. To what age? It's hard to say exactly, but about 9. About 9. Beneath that age, they're still very vulnerable, gullible. They're not strong enough to stand up to somebody, not physically, not emotionally. In terms of the institutions themselves, so this is really not something that we're trying to get across to you for you to take into your own hands. But it's something where really, if enough of the tzibur asks for it, there's going to be an openness on the part of the actual institutions. Beis Yaakov's, Chadorim, all the different schools. Unfortunately, most of them are hefker. experiments were run. A stranger can walk in, take a child, leave, nobody will notice. Nobody will notice. This is true for most Chadorim in Yerushalayim. The Beis Yaakovs, they were a little better, depending on the school. And there are lots of different girls' schools. But I have to tell you a story. Someone came to me and he said he did someone a chesed and then realized afterwards this is absolutely ridiculous. A neighbor had a child that had to be taking medicine. So the neighbor was going to school and bring the child medicine, put it into the mouth of the dropper. This was a first grader in one of the girls' schools. So the neighbor, this woman said she couldn't go that morning. She needed someone to go. So the next door neighbor, a man, said, you know what? Give me the medicine. I'll go to school and I'll do it. He walks into the school. No one stops him. Goes to the class. Asks the teacher to call out this child. Without asking questions, the teacher allowed the child out. He takes out this bottle, takes the dropper, puts a drop in her mouth. She goes back to class and he leaves. And then he chaps. Anyone could have done that. Anyone could have walked in here, asked the teacher for a certain girl, taken a dropper, and put something in her mouth. Who knows what it would be? It's hefker. So Baruch Hashem, there are people working with the different school systems. The different school systems, Yerushalayim is big. There are a few hundred chadorim in Yerushalayim. In girls' schools, there are plenty of Baruch Hashem also. They belong to different systems. There are people that are working. There's actually a yeshiva Li'edach today dealing with this. Security in the schools. It's important that parents ask for it. That may help speed things up. What does it take? What does it take? It just takes that there's some guard at the door and a stranger can't walk in without identification and being checked out at the office to see that they belong there. If anyone walks out with a child, it has to be very clear that that child had permission to leave. And who is this person that's taking out the child? Very simple thing. It's very simple. It doesn't call for all that much. Rebbeim have to be trained to take attendance. They have to know to check. There was a hafsokah, and for some reason there are fewer kids there than there were before Ramadan. Stop attendance. The kid doesn't show up. Does the parent know the child is not in cheder? We had a ma'asim in Yerushalayim where a parent took a child to cheder, came back and took the child home, and the child said, I wasn't in cheder today. So mother checks with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, he wasn't out, sure he was home. So what meant the child there and took him? Pilei Plai. Now, I can't say that this is the norm. But Chadorim, all the schools, they have to be urged to see to it. A simple thing all they have to do is take attendance first thing in the morning, and someone should be in charge of giving the parents a call and finding out, why is your child not here? They would have noticed right away that the child was missing. It doesn't take all that much. You don't need sophisticated systems to do this. You don't even have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in cameras for that. Simple things. See, in Chutz La'aretz today, these things don't happen because they recognize that it's dangerous. In Yerushalayim, we don't want to believe that. Now, this is all one side. Then there's the other side. With the stories circulating, there are parents that are hysterical. There are mothers that are not sleeping at night. There are parents that won't let their children go anywhere. Of course, it's in the name of protecting children. That can also be very harmful and do permanent damage. One of the ikrim in chinuch is to create a calm home. A child living in a calm home grows up secure, grows up happy, the simchas chaim. You create a neurotic atmosphere. What are you doing to your child? It's in the name of security. This is, as always, one of the most difficult aspects of living in Avraham Z, which is developing a sense of balance. Mesilas Yesharim goes to the psukim there. Ariba derech. The person that's scared of everything, there's a lion out in the street. Do you know for a fact there's no lion out there? Tell me, can anyone here guarantee me that when we walk out the door there won't be a big green monster standing there waiting for us? Can you prove it? But if you're afraid of it, you need help. So Chazal tell us, there's a halacha of shlicha hezekah, kviya hezekah, and in every other case, listen, if you don't have b'tachon in the Rebbeinu Shalom, you can't survive. And you're afraid of your shadow. What you have to do is an amount of hishtadlus that is considered responsible. Anything past that point means that you think you run the world, and you're going to outsmart the Eibushter. And no matter what, you're going to make sure that you do better. That's not living up to your responsibility. That's not what it's about. Living up to your responsibility is you do what's called for, nothing less, and nothing more. So yes, you make sure that your kids are taken to school. So you make sure that when your kids are playing outside on Shabbos, there's at least one adult in the Rechava. Better one than two, by the way, because then two talk to each other. One is watching the kids. Again, going to school also, one adult accompanying a group of kids to school, that's fine. That's fine. Not leaving them hefker. Not leaving them hefker. Shabbos morning, Friday night. The girls in the different neighborhoods, they have a Kabbalah Shabbos, they get together. Who takes them home? Who takes them home? It's got to be clear that a madricha doesn't just take them more or less to where they live. Little girls have to be taken home. If they can't guarantee that, then do a Kabbalah Shabbos for your own kids at home. Sure, it's so much nicer when it's a group. It's nicer. But only if someone's going to bring them home. Take the necessary precautions, but no hysteria. The same way that unfortunately there were so many things that were happening, there were also so many things that are imagined. There's a lot of hysteria going on because of the stories circulating. And once again, hysteria is terribly unhealthy. It in itself is a danger to our children. You have to be calm. You have to be sensible. You have to do what's necessary. And past that point, daven for your children. There's no end to how much we can daven for our children. Daven and daven. And the Rebbeinu Shalom will be mekabel like tefillas. And our children will be safe. But understand that we have an achrayus to them, to protect them, within reason, without locking them up, without making them feel like there's danger waiting all over the place. I mentioned before training children. I believe Taatzumot was involved in this also, and I'm sure if there's enough of a bikush, it'll be done again. There has to be really hands-on training. In other words, it's not just a matter of telling your children. But children have to do role-playing. Someone's offering you something, what do you say? Try it out. Make sure you have a good mom talk there and see how the kids react. When it's done in a group by a professional, it's so much better. It's so much more effective. Another very important aspect of it is what you're going to be hearing about next. And the reason why I'm going to introduce it is because You know, there are a lot of things today with regard to chinuch that people label as modern. It's coming from the secular world. And when you hear from a professional, sometimes you wonder, what do Gedolei Yisrael have to say about it? Is it right? Is it not right? I have to tell you, it was a davar pashut in the olden days. It was a davar pashut that parents and children had a strong kesher. If a child had anything to say, the person to go to was the parent. Kids today are much more independent, and often we make ourselves unavailable for them. Simply because, without words, we get across to them messages that there are things we don't want to hear about. If children don't have parents to speak to, then we're really in trouble. It's got to be that you put yourself in a position where your child knows that you are going to protect them come what may, and if there's anybody that did anything to them that should not have been done, you are the address. They'll talk and talk openly. They're not going to get dirty looks, and certainly not a punch. It's very important that children know that. You'll be hearing all about it from someone who knows the business very well. All in all, it's unfortunate. You know, Mashiach isn't here. If we need something else to be mis'abel about in the Churban, it's the fact that even within Klal Yisrael, even though Baruch Hashem we're back in Eretz Yisrael, Mashiach isn't here, the Gul isn't here. And life is complicated. And there's so much Ra in the world. And even our own innocent children are so vulnerable. They can so easily be hurt by Ra. We have to do everything necessary to see to it that they grow up healthy, happy, full of Kedusha, Torah, and Yerushalayim. And if chas v'sholem there's anything that's happening to them, that we have the kind of relationship whereby they will be able to tell us. I'm going to add one more thing, and that's going back to the hysteria of women worrying about their children, imagining that things are happening. There are signs of a child that's undergone something traumatic. The signs are not subtle. The signs are blatant. There are major changes in behavior, major. Bedwetting when they've been trained already for a long time. Major changes in eating habits. If something like that is going on, so you heard there's an address, make sure that there's a professional, that there's seen by to make sure what's going on. If your child shows no sign of having suffered any trauma, it's just that the mothers, sometimes the father, but more often the mothers have fears, they sense something, but there's nothing real there. There's no real change in the child. Leave your child alone. Leave your child alone. Don't make him a sugar. Don't make yourself a sugar. And if you're suffering from neurosis, there are people that can help adults also. Recently we've had a new one, major shalom bayis problems. The mother thinks the child has undergone something, the father thinks it's ridiculous. This is supposed to be dealing with shalom bayis. The way to deal with it is not by making fun of one's wife. That's not going to be very constructive. What you have to do is really try to figure out where it's coming from. Perhaps if a father would take security a little more seriously, the mother wouldn't be having nightmares. If there really is some kind of chash, it should be followed up on. If the father thinks that the mother's just being neurotic, so instead of fighting it out in the kitchen, go to a professional and find out what's really happening. Once again, without bitochen, you poshut can't survive. We have to trust in the Eibishter that if we do ours, take care of our children, do our best to see to it that their moistus are also taking care of the children. Daven well, and we trust that the Rebbeinu Shalom will give us only nachas. We'll be able to raise our children, b'kedusha v'tara, every one of them to be tzaddikim and tzidkonius, oivdei Hashem and mekadshe Shem Shamayim.
Grace Yashikoyah, HaRav Berkowitz. Our next speaker, before we announce him, just a quick 3 hakdamas. Number 1, he's extremely thought-provoking. You no doubt will have questions you want to ask. Please write them down. Give them to our staff members. That will be at the door when we finish. But not orally, otherwise we'll never get out of here. That's 1. 2 is he's going to give you tools, Beis Hashem, that you can use. Like any tools, they don't fit every single case, every single scenario, every single mishpacha. Some of them will work for some people, not for others. It could be a Hasidic mishpacha, it could be Litvish, it could be a one-parent, single parent, or double parent, it could be a large family or small family. So many things depend on your situations. Please keep that in mind, that they're all important, but some of them will be practical for you, and maybe not all of them. Okay? The third thing is that there will be Meirut after the speaker. And now, we introduce a man who's been both a lecturer and author, a psychotherapist of many years of experience, speaking on Better Safe Than Sorry, a targeted approach to your children's personal safety. Please, everyone, a big round of applause for Nitai Melamed.
My name is Nitai Melamed, I'm a psychotherapist. Usually when I come to give a lecture, I just start with a topic. But when I'm coming to talk about what we're going to talk today, I usually make akdamos. So, the issue we are going to talk about is today post-trauma. And you know, trauma has no words. There's a wonderful book, Mei Marom, of Rabbi HaRav. It speaks about Leil Seder. You know, Varadum ve'inu otam. What happened to us in Egypt, in Mitzrayim, it was a trauma. And the trauma has no words. And the tikkun for the trauma is, what do we do in Leil Seder? Right, Haggadah. What is Haggadah? To tell, to give the pain words. And we talk, and that's why Haggadah Shel Pesach, everyone keep religious, not religious. Every Jew does it. Because it's helpful, it gives words to our pain. Okay, that's the first Haggadah. So that's what we're going to do here tonight. We're going to learn how to give words. Because there is a word, or there isn't a word in Hebrew, it's a new word I made. It calls to be sha'il. There isn't a word like this in Hebrew, there isn't a word like this in English. So I'll explain what to be sha'il is. It's something like to be cool with, or to be available, or to be reachable, or to be... There isn't a right word, so I'll explain it. We don't tell our kids, listen, don't talk with me about this, don't talk with me about that. But they just know. They know that there are a few topics that they can't talk with us. And by sitting here tonight, and I'm going to ask you, excuse me, because, forgive me, because what we're going to do is going to be painful. It hurts. But it hurts for something, not for nothing. Because till the end of the evening, we are all going to be a little more she'ilim. I'll say about it a little story. I gave a workshop to rabbis in Bnei Brak, rabbis at Taatzumot, it's rabbis of neighborhoods, and it was 3 months. A lot of people ask rabbis questions about what happened between the family, and nobody gives the rabbis tools to deal with it. They learn a lot of halachas, but there are a lot of issues that, rabbis have thousands or more than that books at home, but none of us is teaching that issues. And after that workshops, one rabbi met me once and he said, it was a very good course, but don't you have, how do you call it, etika? What do you meaning? He said, listen, you shouldn't tell my community that I took this course. I asked him, what are you talking about? I was ashamed to say, I don't even remember from which community do you come, and he said, listen, 29 years I'm a motz. 29 years people come and ask me colors and things, and I always answer, from the course, people come, show me things, and then start, well, I want to ask you, Rabbi, my wife, and said, it's because now everyone knows that I learned it. I said, okay, now I understand. It's not the issue. The issue is you became sha'il. People don't know why, but suddenly they feel that they can talk with you about it, that they can ask you. Last October, there was a city, not here, some other city called Chelem. In Chelem there was a bridge, and the bridge was broken. And people were crossing the bridge and they fall. A few of them get hurted, a few of them get very hurted. And the problem was that the hospital was in the other side of the city. So they sat, all the Chachmei Chelem, they sat and thought 3 days, 3 nights, what can we do? It's nefoshes. And then they decided to build the hospital under the bridge. So everyone that will fall from the bridge will go straight to hospital and we will save Chaye Adam. So I'm here tonight maybe a little to fix the bridge and not to need hospitals. Because, Giot, hurting kids, always were, always will be. The difference is, if we teach our kids how to protect themselves, if we teach them how to know if something is really right or wrong, even if it will happen, it will just start. The cases I get, it's after years and years that it happened again and again. And nobody knew, and they couldn't say a word. So what we can do, the main goal of tonight is not to be scared and to be afraid that from today, chas v'shalom, who knows what's going to be and how can I send my kids to the cheder? Who knows, chas v'shalom, what might happen? No. The main goal is to let the kid know exactly what is right, what is wrong, and how to behave. Okay, so enough kedamot for tonight. I'm going to start, just teach it. I wrote a book about it in few languages, one of them is English. So while I'll speak, you'll see it with the projectors. And I'm going to tell you this now in the same way we should speak with the kids. So in some way we're going also to learn a little how it's useful to speak with kids about everything. Yes. Okay. Most of the time, it's fun to be a kid. And you know, kids are used to listen. And it comes from here and go out from here because all the time, don't touch that, move. What are you doing? Why are you putting that? They're used all the time to hear, why are you doing like this? Why are you doing? If you really want it, they will have it inside. Ask questions. Questions about their life. Most of the time, it's fun to be a kid. Is it fun for you to be a kid? Where are the kids inside? Try to answer. Is it fun? They didn't tell me that. Is it fun to be a kid? Yes. What is fun to be a kid? What do you like being a kid? To play. You like to play, you write. Great. You play a lot. Go to the cheder or school. If the kids continue to do like this, it's fun, it means they're not with us. But never mind. Make friends. Tell me, do you have friends? Who are your friends? Do you have new friends? There are kids that in that minute will, nobody wants to play with me and they have so cold. And suddenly we will stop here because suddenly the whole issue will come out. Mom or Dad take you to the zoo or park. Sometimes it's fun when the whole family get together to eat and spend time with each other. Isn't it great when your mommy or daddy or your grandfather and grandmother hug you? Now listen, I want to say a few words about touching. One of the biggest presents HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the human being is the human touch. Now it's a real issue because we are coming from different families. And there are families that we all touch and that we are all the time hugging, and there are families that father hugged me twice. You can guess when. One right in the bar mitzvah, and one in the chasna. You can imagine how it looked. It's hard. Okay, as a couple therapy, you know, there are a lot of issues with it because she comes from family that with a brother like cats are all the time mushing and pushing, I don't know what, and in his family he never saw his father without a hat, so it makes a lot of issues. But I want to tell you, every cat, every dog will do everything, just that someone will, how do you say that? Well, kids need it. I want to tell you that after the Second War, there was a psychologist named Spitz. He did research because there were a lot of yetomim, orphan, right? And the United Nations built houses, very good houses, to take care of them. And they started to die. I'm not talking about 10%, 20%, but I think 40 or 45% of them were dying. And they had very good food and very good doctors and medications, and they didn't know why. And Spitz came and they thought he's crazy, and he said, listen, they need to be loved, they need to be touched. because no one touched them. They worked there there were thousands of them. And so one was machlifa, so it was like one next, one was feeding, a lot was feeding, and then until they finished with that, they came back to eat a lot because there were a lot of them. And then Spitz did some experiment. He took women from jail and he brought them 1 hour a day just to touch the kids. And they stopped to die. And it was so strong that even I was a therapist in one of the hospitals in Jerusalem, and you know that in the Pagia, in the beginning, in the Pagia, everything has to be very sterile. So the kids were inside of incubator with some kind of aquarium, and then they understood that to live more than they need the medication and the sterilization and everything, they need touch. So today, from silicone, there is a special place to the mother to put her hand like a glove, and she can pet the child and touch the child, because it's very important. Now, the issue we're going to speak tonight is a hard issue, because there are things that are certain. For example, asur lignov, asur lirtzoach. Absolutely. Asur lirtzoach. It's forbidden to steal. If it's Kita Aleph or Kita Bet, it's forbidden to find. They don't steal, they find. So forbidden. Lo mashe. To find. Asur lirtzoach. But the issue we're going to be with tonight, it's forbidden to hug, it's forbidden to touch. It's wonderful to hug. Parents that have difficulties to touch their kids, it's a problem. I have a lot of women that come with questions, what can I do? I can't hug my children, or from their 1 or 2 years, I can't. It's disgusting me. I'm ashamed to say it, but I can't touch them. It's a big issue. And everything here is dual. It's very hard. Because we don't want to teach that people are dangerous. We can't teach that hug is ichs. Because it's not. It's healthy. It's wonderful. So we need all the time, we need to make a lot of differentiations. Forgive me for my English, I forgot my Ritalin. So I have to speak in English, and to be concentrated takes me more. Okay. So I see from the eyes you understand me, so it's fine. If I start to see faces like question mark, I understand that I started Spanish. Okay. So here we are going to make, I give you a little present, some turkey, some exercise. I need a volunteer. Please come. And I want to ask you, please watch carefully. Okay. What I'm going to ask you, Shalom Aleichem, okay, is just to shake hands, that's it. We're not going to hug. I just want to ask you, did you see how we shaked our hands? How was it? Okay, usually that's the answers I'll get. Okay, fine, good. I want to ask you, what did you see, please? Smiles. Who smiled? Right, and I? Right. How was the shaking? What did you see? Let's do it again. What? That was pretty good. I hope my wife would hear it. It's fine, it's fine. Okay, what could you see? Right. we left quickly. We ended the shaking not naturally. Did you also feel it? We are not used to talk about that things, but listen, when we shake hands, there is the way we meet. There are people who think they are in a combat and there are people that they have the dead fish, that they give you the chance and the truth to take the hand, to touch it, and there are ways how do we come to the relationship. And then there is a way how we separate. Because if we now it's really not natural because we don't know each other. But so when it's uncomfortable, okay, we did it. Yes, there is something of running in the end, and we can do it differently, right? So what I would like, again, your name? Arya. Arya, I would like to shake your hand in the best way you would like. But I don't know how you like, so just show me, how would you like to be? Okay. Great. Let me try. How was it? Exactly. Okay. What we're doing now is learning how to talk about touching, just shaking hands. It's a very good exercise, And we're going to teach one each other what is good for us. I'll show you how I like my shake, okay? Please try. Wow. It was good, but mine was stronger, I think. Right? Let's try again. Thank you very much. It's wonderful having you. Thank you, Avi. Okay. One brave man in the audience. Okay, what I did now with Arya, and thank you, Arya, is what we are going to do with the kids about hugging. And we are just going to ask the kid, please show me, how do you like me to hug you? Because I come from a family, and when I was young I had chicks, and there are bad aunts, that it makes them a bit teavon, and when they see it, they must giving me some good broche, and then come the kiss between. And I have some problem of hypersensitive. Every touch, is very strong for me, and I can't have something wet here. And I didn't care how much people are going, and my parents are going to be angry with me. But after it, I always had to stay dry. And they never asked, is it fitable? Is it comfortable? Do you like it? They knew I like it. And what happened is very interesting, because our parents, that are very gentle. And the child has a problem with visut chushi, it's going to be hard. Sensual balance?
Regulation.
Sensory?
Regulation.
Whatever you said, right? So, now a child like this have to have the hug till you don't hear the brain. The bones that break, he doesn't feel hugged. And our parents, they like to hug. And the kids say, no, it's not what I like. What I like is very gentle. So we start to do two things. I'm laughing and we're laughing, but it's a serious issue. The reason I laugh is to make it a little easier. I was warned in the beginning, don't frighten, don't be too frightened, so I try. I hope it goes well, but let's try a little more. And what I want is first to give the child the opportunity to control touching. To learn that he has the ability to say, I want it stronger. Even that he is a child and he is little, He can control what happened to his body. He can say, I want it stronger, I want it softer, I hate hugging. So it is right not to be hugged. I like drying, all kind of, okay. Isn't it great when your mommy or daddy or your grandfather and grandmother hug you because they love you and you love them? But sometimes bad things also happened. What happened to the girl? She's sick, right? Do you remember that you were sick? It's a time a little to have pleasure with the suffer. Yes, and I didn't go to the cheder. Right. Oh, what happened to the boy? You fall and hurt yourself. Listen, there is blood there. What we should do? Hey, there is blood. What can we do? Plaster. Thank you very much. Okay. Or bully hits you, and it's a good chance to ask the kid in your class. Kids are hitting. And do they also hit you? Do you also hit other kids? And then suddenly a lot of stories go, because we it looks like we talk with the kids, but I find a lot of families that we don't know how to talk. I mean, we're talking, the kid comes from the cheder and says, oh, shalom, how are you? And he says, Baruch Hashem, how was in the cheder? And he says, Kef. Good, so wash your hands and come and eat lunch. So we are talking, but... And here I want the kid really to talk. Something scares you, I wish you will ask him, tell me, Ingaye, what scares you? A lot of kids goes with a lot of fears and they don't talk about it. And just by talking about it, it becomes much better. Sometimes real bad things happen to kids, even to the best kids. For example, you can get sick and have to go to the hospital. This can be scary at first. But then you'll meet the doctors and nurses and see that they want to help you get better. And your parents will be there to help too. Do you know what you are supposed to do when something unpleasant or bad happens? Now, here there is some issue. There are two kinds of secrets. There are good secrets and there are bad secrets. Good secrets. I'll give you, how can we know? Good secrets, two things. One, they're good. Two, they will be told. I mean, for example, on Shabbos we are making a birthday party for Avraham, so it's a secret, and all the kids are happy. It's a secret, it's a surprise party. Always will be some nachs that will come. Oof, when are we going to make the birthday? Okay, because it's a secret, but okay, it's good because the birthday party is good and it will be told. It will be told. Thank you. Bad secret. First, it's bad. And whenever we remember it, we get a stomach ache. It hurts. It's a very bad feeling to remember it, and we take it with us to the grave. And we have to teach the kids the difference between good secrets that he can have and bad secrets that he can't have. Now look at that girl. I will tell you, she had a secret. What do you think? Did she tell the secret or no? No. All right. How do you know? Because you see, what do you see on her face? What do you see from her expression? She said, right, because she has a secret, a bad secret, and when someone have a bad secret, it hurts. And he said, and there is nothing to do except telling it. Now what I want to ask you, my child, I want to ask you to do something very difficult, because what we are going to do is a role playing. Kids love role playing, and I want to, let's see, because you are clever, you're my son, let's see if you can be that girl. Let's see. Okay? We will try. So now you are the girl, and hello, and I want to ask you, you have a secret and you didn't tell it. Why didn't you tell it? Help me. Because it's embarrassed, it's very embarrassed, right? I'm afraid someone will be angry at me, you'll be angry at me, right? It's very scary. What else? Because someone told me not to say it. Shalom Hamud, but whose kid is it? I'm not sure it's exactly for him. However, so someone told me not to say, or I'm afraid that someone will be angry with me, or I don't want to disappoint you, or I feel that I did something very bad, or it's very embarrassing, it's a shame. There are more reasons, but we'll not stay there. Wow, you're a wonderful kid, amazing. How did you know how to do it? Well, you are so good. So now you can see, you see the sheep here, the little sheep. I wrote a book. I went to a lot of rabbis after I wrote it. You know, the language is very critical. So in the beginning it was a rabbit, and one of the rabbis said, listen, rabbit is not a kosher chaya, so I changed it to a kosher sheep. And he's a good, you know, the alter ego it calls. He's like the conscience, the good advisor for the kid. And what does she tell to the girl? What does he tell her? Tell! Now let's see if you can be the sheep. And listen, it's critical that the child will say that things, not you. Because one thing with secrets that I can tell you, when someone has a secret, if you won't give him the permission not to tell, he won't tell. If you want to teach him to tell, first you need to give him the permission to talk with him about why not to tell, because that's his fears. And that's the reason that 93% of the kids that get hurt don't tell their parents. Because they're afraid that the parents will stop to love them. And it's very important that with this role playing, you give the child a chance to let you know what's going on here and here, in his words. Now you're going to be the sheep, and I want to ask you, sheep, when you tell her, tell, why? Because?
Your mother can help you, protect you.
Right, because when you tell, you'll feel better. Right. Why else? What more? Why to tell? Right, because you will be helped. Because till you will tell, nobody will be able to help you. And even if someone told you, be careful, I will hurt your parents if you will tell, it's because he is weak. Because a strong person don't need to use threats and that kind of issues. A strong person just there. But weak people, they have, You know, little dogs make a lot of noise. And as they are more little, they make more noise. The big part, they are quiet, they don't need to. And if someone tells a kid not to tell the parents, it's because he's afraid from us. He knows that I will never let anyone to hurt my son. Okay. So we ask what to do if something unpleasant or bad happens. I must tell you, I make a krechtsel not just because I'm Jewish, because I work with Chadorim. And when I ask kids that question, if something happens, what should you do? And it's a shame. So many kids don't think about the simple answer, tell. Part of them say, I will punch him, I will I will pray, I will, all kind of answers. And it's not that forbidden, forbidden. No. It's not that understood that if something bad happens, that it's a secret, they should tell. Okay, you simply tell someone you trust, and then ask the child. For example, you know the researchers shows that as the child will have more opportunity, whom to go, whom to tell, there is more chance that he will tell. That's why I will suggest you, both of you, father and mother, to talk with the kids about it. Usually we like to trust the mother, okay, speak with them. It's not enough because there are kids that they will never say to mother because they're afraid to lose her love. She's too important to them. Because she is a woman and I can't speak with a woman about issues like this. With father I can, but for this the father has to be sha'il. So after a few months the mother spoke, you have to speak with them. In the same way we are working now. Even that we are not exactly using it in the kollel, you know, and okay, it's a new language, work on it. Ask him. Whom can you tell? Let's think. And as the kids will have more ideas, there is more chance that if Chas v'Shalom something happens, he will tell. I get once phone call from one of the Rabbonim in Yerushalayim, and he says his name, yes, and I don't remember we ever met. And he says, I called you to say thank you. I owe you. Did we meet once? He said, no. But you were in the cheder of my son. I'm so excited. I must tell you something. Listen, my son came home now, very afraid. What happened? He went with a friend to the friend's house. And the big brother of the friend built a tent. He said that he built a tent, it's a magic tent, and he suggested him to go to the tent. And there is some surprise inside. Well, it wasn't such a pleasant surprise. And after the kid went into the tent, the brother tried to do a few things, not exactly tzanua, and he just shouted, no, 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 run. He left his bag there and just ran home. And he came home and he came to his father and said, Father, someone tried to do something bad to me. And he told him what happened, and the rabbi asked him, Ingele, you're amazing. How did you know to talk about? How did you know to say no? How did you know to talk with me about it? He said, what's the problem? Rabbi Melamed came to our cheder and he taught us that if someone is trying to touch in your private places, you must say no loudly and then run and tell. And I hear the father crying. And I ask him, why are you crying? And he said, yes, it's very exciting. And And I ask again, why are you crying? And then some silence, and then he said, because when I was young, someone touched me, and I never talked with it to anybody. I didn't have the words. I didn't even know that it's something you can say. I didn't think in my worst idea to talk with my parents or with my... And I got another client. So, okay, so simply tell someone you trust, like a parent or a Melamed or a teacher, and we can continue with them, or a neighbor, and they will help you feel better. This is because they care about you and want you to be safe. They do not want anything bad to happen to you. That's why they tell you to be careful when you cross the street, or to wear warm clothes when it's cold to mommy. It's cold outside, but never to go anywhere with strangers. Now listen, I want to tell you something about strangers. 97%, I'll say it differently, 3% of the people who touch kids are strangers. 97% it's people that the kid knew. You know, this terrible person behind the bush to jump on, it's only 3%. Most of the people that touch boys or girls, in our community it's more boys than girls, by the way. And 97% it's people that the boy knew. It can be a neighbor, it can be the one from the sailor, from the shop, it can be the Hassaot driver, it can be the Rebbe in the class of Briut, it can be the psychologist, it can be the medical doctor, it can be everyone we won't even imagine. Because one thing I want to tell you about people that touch kids, they don't have karnaim, they don't look different than us. It's not the people that you see in the street and you say, he looks to me, something wrong with him. It's not them. It's people like me and like you, that they can be the best neighbors, that they can be the people whom we trust the most. It's a very difficult illness. And the illness that it's, addicted. It's an addiction, a very difficult addiction. When I work with rabbis, and they find someone from the community that did it, and they say, listen, it's impossible, I know him for 30 years. It was once, he did chetz, barati yetzer hara, barati Torah tavlin, he promised to learn with me 1 page Gemara every day, and Bezrat Hashem, he swore, and I believe him, that he will never do it again. And I said, Rabbi, I understand you, and I also believe him. There is just one problem, that he promised it hundreds of times. And usually they understand, so, oh, okay. Now I understand. Because there is a very good treatment for them, but usually they won't come for treatment. When I start with the cheder and I meet the rabbis, I said to them, listen, if one of the rabbis has some feeling about it, thoughts about kids, and he will come and tell me, before I find it, I promise to help you. there is a good way to solve it. There is a very good treatment. There is an organization in Bnei Brak, Shlom Banaich. In the hand of it stands Rav Silman, from the Beis Din of Nissim Karenitz. And they do an excellent job. And they help people like this to get cured. But for this, they need to take responsibility and come and say, listen, I have a problem. The problem is that usually they don't do it. And so I wrote about the strangers, and we need to learn and to speak about the strangers because we don't want to bring the people here, you know, if your grandfather or your neighbor, what, it's very threatening, it's not the idea. So we start with strangers. I'm not going to speak about strangers. What I'm going to tell you about strangers, there is one thing very important, to teach the child the difference between if someone comes and say, Yeled, where is Panim Meirot 12? He says, here. Can you show me? No. Ask an adult. They have to learn to answer it. No. I mean, it's very important. Is the wise, do they live here? Yes. Do you know where they live? Yes. 3rd floor. Can you please show me? No, I can't. Find an adult. An adult shouldn't ask a child to help him. Listen, it's hard. I grew up differently. When I grew up, there weren't that issues, thank God. It's just today. Because nobody never spoke with me about it, so I assume it never happened. But even today, it doesn't happen so much, because I speak with a lot of audience. And when they bring me to Hasidic community, they listen, they say, listen, you are talking very nice, very pleasant, very funny, but we are not a real audience. Go to the Litvakesh. Balagan, what's going on there? And then I go to the Litvakesh. And the Litvaim, they sit and they hear and they say, yeah, it's very important, it's very, yes, but we already keep Tahara, Tzniut, go to the Sephardim. Don't ask what's going on. Oh! And then I go to the Sephardim, to the Shas members, and I give their lectures, and they ask me, did you go yet to the Mizrochnikim? Boys, girls, oi. And they send me to the Hasidish because the mikveh and everything don't ask. So let's decide that it never happened, or at least here it doesn't happen. But at least if we have this evening, we learn how to help other people that it might happen. Well, so about strangers, that is very important. If someone wants to give candy, it's very important issue in Sanhedria. There was one shul, I don't know if someone knows, I'm not going to give names. There was a shul that someone there was giving candies. And in Kohanim of Musaf, when everyone covered the hair, he would go, there was some cheder gniza. And there he would accept kids privately. And they got 2 candies, not 1. But they got some other stuff that I believe they didn't really want it. And when they find him, there were 35 kids that were hurted from 3 to 9. So we must teach the boy the difference between in public and privately. Which means if you're in shul and someone wants to give you a candy, so if your father can see, and it's not privacy, he doesn't have to hide it. Everyone see. When I ask our holy kids, and I ask them what the problem is, what do you think they answer? The hechsher, as a dentist. The hechsher. How can we take candy? We don't know what the hechsher is, but in reality, I can tell you, with my ADHD, I grew up in a shul of Old Yekish. My grandfather was a rabbi, so I had to sit in the Mezrach, and they all were survivor of the Holocaust, very nervous. And you know, to be an ADHD kid, it moves all the time. And there is that bag that all the time I open to see what, and then boom, it falls. And Chazan Foyer would crying to the Kadosh Baruch for some 3.5 hours. He thought it's Rosh Hashanah every Shabbos, and I just, for me, every Shabbos was a real battle. And I had to see how I passed this combat, and the people who gave the Candyman saved me, because I knew till Kedusha I can hold myself, and after Kedusha I went to Rabbi Engelhard, that he had, you know, a box from silver from Yerkeland that's written on it the names of his grandfather and great-grandfather, and he would give 2 candies, so this helped me stay till the Kriyas HaTorah, and after Kriyas HaTorah I could have some air, and then before, in the middle of Musaf, there was another one that it saved my life, but still we have to teach the kids the difference between in public or in privacy. And if someone says you want to get a candy, and it's very tempting, and he says, come to the room, I'll give you, it means something is wrong. Don't take, come to me, tell me that story, I promise to give you 2 candies, but don't go with him. Okay. So that's the strangers. Yes. Okay. If a friend, someone you know and like, or a member of your family gives you something to eat, a present or money, and tells you to keep it in secret, and convince you to touch them, say no. Get away right away, and immediately tell someone you trust. Sometimes people you know and like very much try to lie to you. They want to touch the private parts of your body, or want you to touch their private parts. They tell you lies like, it's okay, even though they know that it's wrong. This is really wrong. In this book, we want to tell you about private parts. Do you know what the private parts of your body are? And I give the definition, הגדרה. Private parts of your body are the parts that must be covered when you are dressed. It's very important. Kids try to understand it. Wait, and if I'm in the swimming pool, or there are kids in the mikveh, I suggest don't send young kids to the mikveh. And if you must send them, take responsibility and go with them. I can tell you that the mikveh is the source of so many perpetrators that every year it gives us so much work. If you can, don't send little kids to the mikveh. And if you insist to send them, it's your responsibility. Don't leave them 1 second alone there. It's a problem to get inside with them. You'll go on your time and take them with you. And then check with the child if you understand what private parts are. For example, is a nose private parts? There are kids think that yes, and they can put a guard in the entrance. Okay, so we can work about it a little. No one should touch your private parts except you, and you shouldn't touch anyone else. Okay, we spoke about family. By the way, a lot of touching kids are in the family. And it means that as parents, We don't have to be paranoid. We don't have to be in panic, but we have to be present. If the kid's alone in the room, be there. Don't give more than an hour. The cousin came to meet and they're so cute. They're both hours together in the room and there is such a silence. It's not a good silence. Maybe it is, but they have to know that we are present there. Go take some towel, just disturb them at least once an hour. Be present. They have to know that their privacy is limited. We spoke about family, we spoke about adults. Other children, other children, a lot of touching is between children. Now I want you to know, part of healthy growing up is looking at touching. Children, when they are 4 or 5 years old, part of their growing up is to check how it looks with the other. They just have to look. When it stays when they are 44, it's a problem. But when they are 4, it's fine. And I get hundreds of calls every month. A lot of them from Gananot, from the kindergarten, and what to do? Some child look at the other and he tried to take down, to take up. Okay, it's normal. Usually, when a child is 4 or 5, if he's ADHD, so even when they are 6 or 7, because with ADHD they are more childish, so we take the מורידים שליש ולא על התנהגות טובה. A child with ADHD, when he's 9 years old, psychologically he's like 6 years old. And he likes to play with kids that are 6 years old, even that he's 9 and he looks tall and big, but psychologically he's still 6. And so in that ages, if we see a child looking, playing, doctor and nurse, all kind, father and mother, all that, we have to stop it. We have to say, very assertive, listen, it's forbidden to play this game. You want to play, take a Lego. You want to play, go and play some other games. We don't, you can't touch nobody's private part, and nobody can see or touch yours. Usually, it's enough, and the kids will stop. And while they are doing it, they won't do it like it's a sin, like it's a secret. They do it very naively, and they are laughing. And they are doing it very and they are not busy just with it. They can play together, eat together, touch each other, and be happy till the Shemaim, and everything is fine. So just when we say this is forbidden, it will stop. If it happen again, and we punish, we say, listen, if it will happen again, I'm going to punish you. And we punish, and they continue, then it starts to be a red light. But usually, when little kids are touching each other, don't get panic, just tell them that it's wrong. Even parents that they say to the kids, be careful, what do we say? Be careful from strangers. What we say, the strangers are just 3%. So be careful. Which parents will say, be careful from your best friend in the class? But it happens a lot in the Chederim. It starts from curiosity and it can continue to... So other children should not touch your private parts, and you should not touch their private parts or other children. Sometimes children are curious and want to look at and touch your private parts. You must say no. You must use your special no. You say no loudly, so the children will know that they are trying to do something bad, and you do not agree. You know, even a doctor needs a permission of the adult who is with you to examine you. In Tel Zion, there was some story about a medical doctor that a girl, 13, came without her parents. She had a throat infection, and she got a whole different exam. So, and the doctor said, it's very good you came without your parents. You see, Kupat Cholim can be also a good place, not just a bad place. Should we be panic? No. What we should be responsible. Don't send the kid alone. Not to the doctor, not to the... They need us to guard them. You just, okay. The doctor, right? Okay. It's not right for grown-ups to touch and follow your private parts, even if they say they love you. And it's very wrong to grown-ups to try and convince you to touch the private parts. Do you know how you can tell if someone is doing something wrong to your body? Look, we can see here a father that is tickling and having fun with a child. What do you say? What's going on in the picture is right or wrong? Right. And here I give you the most important key. Why? First, because it's right. It's in public. We see mother on the background. We see he doesn't need to hide it. This is the most important now. This is the key. First, when someone is doing something right, he won't hide it. He will do it begalui. And second, he won't ask you to keep it as a secret. If someone is doing something to you and tell you not to tell, it means he's doing something bad to your body and to you. So right, the father here is tickling the son, and tickling is fun if you like it. And it's fine. But no one has the right to touch and play with your private parts. If someone tells you, we're going to finish, and it's hard. If someone tells you not to tell anyone what he's doing to you and your body, and that it's a secret, even if it feels good, it means it is wrong. Say you won't tell, and then get away as soon as you can. You must tell, even if you are forced to swear to God that you won't tell. Tell. The Kadosh Baruch Hu wants you to tell. Just to give you the background, what happens when it happens, so I'll give you just one story from the hard stuff, and we'll understand how it works. An 11 years old child, his father told him this story. When he got here, he saw his child crying. I asked him, what's wrong? He's not answering. And he asked, do I have to tell? And he said, see what's written here. You must tell. And he's crying and crying and crying. And that's a story, just because usually we don't see it. So I give you it from the background, because we see just the front. And when we'll see how it looks, we'll understand how it's hard when we don't see it. So what happened was, when this child was 10 years old, he was alone at home. And mother said, father will come every minute, and he heard knocking in the door. He was sure it's father. He opened, and he saw a schnorrer. And the schnorrer asked him, is father at home? He said, no. Is mother at home? No. Are you alone? He said, yes. He said, good. I'm from the Badatz of the Eidah Haredis. I came to check your bris. And he came home, he closed the door, and he said, I don't want to, and he said, you can't say no to the Badatz. He checked, he did what he did, and then he told him, listen, now everything is right, everything is good. If you are going to tell it to someone, will come people from the Badatz, they will take your father, they will take your mother, and you won't have a parents. And he didn't tell. For a year, he didn't tell. Now let's go to the front. After a month, the Rebbe called the parents to come. And he said, listen, let's call him Avraham. He said, listen, I don't know what's going on with Avraham. He's not concentrate. He's disturbing. He doesn't learn. I want to show you his exam. He gets 30. With his potential, these idiot sentences, and there's a lot of potential. And if you will work harder, you will get very good results. And I never met a boy that heard this sentence and suddenly started to learn and find his potential. But never mind, it sounds good to say it. And the parents heard it, and they did their own מבצע, and ייצוג התנהגות, they did their cards with prices and with presents, and if you will become better student, you will get points and stars, and you will be able to buy all kind of. After 2 months, they were invited again to the Cheder, and the Rebbe said, listen, we thought he's going to be better. Not just he didn't become better, he became rude. He started to have chutzpah. The father in front of the rabbi slapped the face of the boy. And he said, listen to me. If you will learn, if you won't learn, it's your business. Chutzpah from my house will not be. Do you hear me? Okay. But he didn't hear. It got worse and worse. He started to make doilim in the middle of the day. He would come back home with a bag. The parents came to some not professional therapists that didn't have any הכשרה and any, but and he said he has very good, how he said it, אני מסדר לכם אותו ב4 פגישות. I'm arranging him to you in 4 meetings, everything will be good. Whenever he comes with a bag, you, even in the winter, you put him in the bath. As he is, cold water, strong cold water all over him, and he will stop it. Believe me. He got a cold shower 3 or 4 times, but he didn't stop. What I want to tell you, that in the minute the kid told the father the secret, without seeing a therapist yet, without doing anything, just told the secret, he stopped with the gdolim. It never happened again. Just from telling it. After it, he had 2 years of therapy, hard therapy, because he came late. But thank God today he's more than fine. I'm invited to his wedding, so it happened years ago, and thank God he's in a very good mood now. But I wanted to give you a little behind how it happens, how important it that we will know it, that the kids will tell us it. It's an awful thing to hold it in the stomach. So, you must tell, even if you are forced to swear, we said this, simply tell. It's never wrong to make a promise that will keep you from getting hurt. It is also never wrong to break these kind of promises. The really bad thing is that sometimes, even when you say no, a grown person might force you to do things you don't want to do. This is the worst thing that they can do to you. If this happens, it is never your fault. Now, first aid in this issue. If a child come and tell you something happened, remember it. First help, first aid. It's not your fault, because when it happened to children, they are sure it's their fault. They are sure it's also to grown-up, but especially children, they feel guilty, they feel ugly, they feel, and by saying it's not your fault, you can save months of therapy. Because a lot of time what happened when a girl comes, someone asks me to show him where the garbage room is. Don't tell me you showed him. I did. What? Are you crazy? How? And she doesn't need it, especially not now. I mean, she already did it. And what is important for her to hear, thank you for telling me that. It's not your fault. It's always it is always a grown-up's fault. Tell someone you trust what happened, because most grown-ups are nice to kids. Let's normalize. Most of the people are fine. Tell, even if you're afraid they won't believe you. The person who told you this book will believe you. Talking about what has happened is the first thing you need to do to feel better. I'm going to... You can tell your parents everything. They want to be careful rather than sorry. So that's a way to tell kids. When we want to speak with kids about it with a book, it's better with a book. We are doing it with one kid. It's not, a family topic that we are going now to talk with the family, because it's one of the things we want to teach them, that we talk about it in privacy. That's why we want to speak with few kids together. We take each time one kid, when we are free, when nobody sees, with some privacy, with no cell phone, and speak with them. We can speak with them like this book from 4 till 14 plus minus. And if we have someone 16 or 17, what we can do is tell him or her, listen, we were in some lecture, we bought some book, and we want to tell your little brother or your little sister, and I'm very interested with your opinion. I would like to read it first to you and tell me what you think, if it's proper or if it's... And it opened the topic and it gave us, because we all like to help others. So it's another chance to talk about it. Okay, we could speak weeks about it. So I try to think what is really important. It's important to know that what we can give the kids is the right tools to realize what is right and what is wrong. Then we can be safe, then we can be relaxed, and we can trust the kids that if chas v'shalom something will happen, they will talk with us, because by talking with the kids about it, make us shalim.